What is up, everybody? It's Maple Butter Caramel Film Podcast. It's our second episode. Originally, so usually, usually we're live every Tuesday at 8, but we had to pre-record our episode this week on Monday, and then it was a horrible disaster. We had
Yep.
everything wrong possible. Everything that could happen wrong happened wrong. So we have some footage from that, which we're gonna put on our YouTube tonight, and then yeah, so that was a disaster. So we're live tonight, Thursday instead of Tuesdays, but we'll be back Tuesday at 8. So D-Rock, how you been?
I've been pretty good. Been just chilling, painting, working on house projects, watching Book of Boba Fett. That's about it.
How is
But
that? I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil anything, but how is it so far?
a lot better than I expected, and my expectations were, kind of medium. But it's honestly better than I expected. I'd say it's on par with The Mandalorian so far, and I thought the second episode was honestly some of the best Star Wars material I've seen, and this new one's pretty good too. So
All
I
right.
don't know. So far, it's been pleasantly surprising. Also, leaning into what you were saying about the technical difficulties, the irony was that when we did a pre-recorded episode, we had all sorts of issues and things going wrong and things not working. And then when we did the live episode the first time, we had like little to no issues except for like some delay, which we've
Yeah,
worked out. So yeah,
that's usually how
it's
it
kind of
goes.
funny.
So what happened was Monday we started recording our episode. And we started with our 2021 year in review, where we just talked about just different films and shows from 2021 that we really liked and some that we didn't like. Um, but we decided we're not going to redo it here live. Just going to throw that on the YouTube. And tonight we're actually just going to go straight into the MCU tier list. It's episode 2. This
Yes.
is our second part, so it's phase 2. We're going to be doing movies as well as some of the Netflix shows because we're going to consider them part of phase 2. But yeah, instead of just rehashing a lot of that stuff, we'll just have it on the YouTube and you can watch it there. Um, Obviously, it's a little awkward, but you can't really fake good momentum. You know, we had a really good conversation during that recording, and we can't really redo it. So we're just gonna do it this way. It's obviously a little clunky, and we're sorry about that. But oh, something happened. Something happened with your camera for a sec. It looked like you were stuck in a massive snowstorm. But you're good now.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, I see that too. I don't know why I did that.
I don't know either, but it was fine. So let's we're gonna go straight into it.
All right,
Let's do it.
let's go for it.
That's not the tier list. That's my stream. Here's the tier list. So we will kind of rehash our tier because we were able to during our pre-recording get into 2 movies from phase 2, but turns out the entire time while we were talking one of our mics was not working, so it was a one-way conversation, and that's always awkward.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and
we're not really gonna rehash what we said because, like I said, you can't really capture that lightning in a bottle twice. So we're just
yeah,
gonna
I
quickly
agree.
go over the 2 movies we are talking about. It's a shame we lost that footage, but it is what it is. So the first one we did was hold on, boys. MCU Phase 2. I already forget the timeline.
Yeah,
Then it goes
I remember
Iron Man, then
the
Thor.
order.
Okay, so we
Iron
start
Man
with Iron
3.
Man 3. Um,
I think we should discuss Iron Man 3 because it's a pretty contentious film in the MCU. People are very divided over it. You and I were kind of divided over it, and like you said, we can't completely rehash the discussion, but I think we should kind of hit on some of the main talking points.
all right, all right. We'll try our best here. Um, I'll let you go first.
Okay. So I remember seeing this movie in the theaters and kind of having a mixed reaction. I thought a lot of the action set pieces were pretty unique and fun. You know, he's got this, I guess, this mechanic, this technology in that movie where he can kind of call out a horde of suits. That part's interesting. Um, you have this element where he's kind of been stripped of his technology and all of his resources, and he's forced into like the situation where he has to kind of be self-reliant and be more self-resourceful, And so it's kind of interesting and neat to see Tony Stark go through that sort of plot line and that sort of arc. But the big twist in this movie is the part that's very contentious. And that's the part that everyone talks about in this movie. Some people think it's clever and unique, and some people think it's just horrible. And I'm kind of somewhere in between. I don't completely hate it, but I don't love it by any means. And I guess spoilers if you haven't seen the film. The film spends the duration, most of the duration, building up the villain, the Mandalorian, not the Mandalorian, the Mandarin, the Mandalorian,
the crossover film. It's the first one.
Yeah. See, that would be more interesting. But the Mandarin, and he's committing all these terrorist acts throughout the first and second act of the film. It's this mysterious figure, no one knows who he is, and then it's revealed that it's not actually the Mandarin. It's an actor who's just playing this character, the Mandarin. In reality, there's a villain played by Guy Pearce, isn't that right? I don't remember
yes, Guy Pearce. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't remember the actual character name, but it turns out it was some guy that like Tony kind of slighted at like a convention or something like 20 years prior.
It's very stupid.
It's very, very stupid. It's not well developed. It doesn't make any sense. And it turns out that guy was the real villain all along, and he was pulling the strings. And I remember seeing that in the theater and thinking it was kind of stupid. Because the movie had spent all this time developing this villain, then they kind of do the rug pull, and so I think this movie's a mixed bag. I think, like I said, some of the character moments and the settings are really interesting and well written, but then it really sort of takes a dive, in my opinion, once you bring in that twist. I remember kind of rolling my eyes in the theater, and I think you had a much more like guttural reaction to it than I did. You have, go ahead and get into.
I absolutely
your
hated
feelings on
this
that
film.
twist.
This is probably the only Marvel movie I've seen where I wanted to leave. I really, really hate this movie. I think the villain is stupid. The twist is stupid. It's borderline insulting to anyone who likes the source material, or just likes good movies in general. I don't like this movie. It's not a movie I would rewatch unless I don't know. I wouldn't rewatch it. I think, what did we agree on? Was it D minus?
I think you wanted to put it in F.
Oh,
and
I
was
want
like,
an
okay,
F.
I don't think
For me, it's
that
F.
bad.
It's one of the worst MCU movies.
I would put it at C. I would put it at C. I don't think it's even D tier. I think I would put it at C. I don't think it's incompetent.
Can we
I think it's better than
compromise
Iron
on
Man
D
2.
plus?
Yeah, D plus is fair.
All right, that's what it'll be for now.
yeah,
Obviously, there's a lot more movies to come. But yeah, we'll compromise on D plus.
I think it's better than Iron Man 2 and the first Captain America.
No, it is not. Not even close. Those movies are. First of all, it's nowhere near as good as Iron Man 2. It's definitely not. Like, sure, Iron Man 2 is a little bland, but
you're right. Iron Man 2 has that hook with Tony and his father, and that's kind of the heart of the movie. And yeah, Iron Man 3 doesn't have anything quite that strong. Yeah, I'm a little bit divided on it. I think I would say C, but a D plus is probably reasonable.
we'll compromise on that. It might change, because we have more movies to get in here.
It's worth pointing out that a lot of people love that movie. A lot of people think
don't
they're one of the best
understand
Marvel
why.
movies, and I don't feel that way either. I don't think it's a horrible movie like you do, but I also don't think it's a fantastic movie either.
All right. So next up was Thor 2. I think you said E.
Yeah. I think I might have said F. I think this is
You said F, but I was
Probably-
able to talk you out of it because I said, and I stand by this, the character development between Thor and Loki is very good in that film.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I
it saves
forgot
the
about
movie
that,
from
yeah.
being unwatchable. Everything else is terrible. The Ether story arc is stupid. The CG bug monsters are not interesting. It has some great visuals. Like, there's some really fun set pieces. They, travel around the realms, which is cool. I think it's a D minus. But if we'll compromise an E. That's kind of in between what we both think.
You know what? I'll agree on like a D. Um, it's better than Hulk. It's better than Hulk.
It's better than Hulk. I would rewatch this, and I have rewatched this. I don't care about this. I'll never watch this again.
The things in the movie that do work really well is, like you said, the dynamic between Loki and Thor. Their mom is killed in the movie, and there's this kind of moment where they sort of bond and grieve together, and
Yeah, all that stuff
it sort
is
of
good,
brings
and
them
that's-
closer. Yeah, all this
that
stuff is
saves
really
it for
well
me.
written. The things that are really bad is, I guess, the central plot is not that great. Kat Dennings is insufferable in that movie. She's really annoying.
I
Normally,
agree, yeah.
I think she's okay because I like her in WandaVision, but I cannot.
She's
stand
much
her
better in WandaVision, yeah.
Yeah, I can't stand her in Thor: Dark World, and yeah, bad CG, just really bland. The whole Natalie Portman character is just like whatever. Yeah, overall, not a great film, but like you said, the dynamic, I guess the family dynamic in that movie is what saves it. And then a lot of those plot lines carry through into the succeeding Marvel films, so it is like impactful in that regard. Whereas like, Iron Man 3 doesn't really have anything that kind of echoes into the future films like Thor: Dark World does.
So the next film I think is one we're probably going to disagree on a lot. I can just kind of feel
Okay.
it in my bones, mostly because I know I'm in the minority on this film. And I'm going to let you take the lead on it, actually, because I'm curious. And that is Captain America the Winter Soldier, a.k.a. Cap 2.
Captain America: Winter Soldier. I really liked this film, but it took a little bit to grow on me. I think the first time I saw it, I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. I know a lot of people say it's one of the best Marvel films. Some people even say it's the best Marvel film. I don't know if I'd go that far. But I think as far as just like a streamlined action movie, it's very solid. And I think was the first, I would say is definitely the first Captain America portrayal in the MCU that actually made me like that character. I think up until that point, I was sort of lukewarm on that character. I didn't really like the way, I didn't like the first Captain America movie that much. I thought he was a little bit in Avengers, but he's supposed to be very grounded. I thought this movie did a good job at kind of humanizing him, giving him like a struggle. The dynamic between him and Bucky I thought was interesting. Bucky being the Winter Soldier, of course. Visually, I think it's one of the few Marvel movies with like a distinct visual style. Some interesting shots, some interesting like cinematography and camera work, and I would say if I were to rank it, I'd probably put it like in, I don't know, A, B plus. I think it's pretty solid, but I will say the first time I watched it in the theater and I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. And then people kept talking it up, and I was like, well, several years later, I was like, let me rewatch this movie and see if I have a different opinion. And I did find myself liking it even more than the first time I saw it in the theater. So I would say it's an A if I were going to rank it. I think it's pretty solid. It's very simple. It's just like a streamlined plot. It's not overly reliant on the rest of like the MCU canon. And I think this is the first movie that introduces Falcon, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, I thought it was.
I believe so.
So yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I'm gonna say it's an A.
So I'm not super into this movie. Again, I know I'm the minority. I don't like the action. It relies too much on shaky cam.
There's a lot of shaky cam.
I think the plot is not very clever and it's kind of stupid in the third act. I think the third act is a giant mess where they just fight on a falling helicarriers and everything's exploding.
Yeah.
I
That
don't
is
find
true.
any of the characters very. I don't care about any of them. I've seen this movie 3 times and I don't care about any of the characters or what really happens to them. I care in later films. Like I really like Falcon. I don't care for him in this movie. I care for Black Widow. I think Scarlett Johansson's probably the best one in this movie.
Yeah, she
But
was really good in
I've
this
never
movie.
understood the appeal of the film, and I don't really like it that much. I think it's perfectly fine. Looking at the tier list, I definitely think it's better than Thor and Iron Man 2 and Cap 1, but I wouldn't put it in A. I'd put it in B.
I think that's fair. Like I said, I could see it being like a B plus or a B.
Right. I think we can agree on
Um,
B plus. Like I don't really
yeah,
like it, but we have to compare it to the other films too, and it's better than all these. Like definitely,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
better than Thor.
absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's definitely better than Thor. It's better than the preceding Captain America movie. I think the thing that it does more strongly than the original Captain America movie is that it sort of, I think it humanizes that character a little bit. I think he actually struggles, and he not only physically struggles, but he also kind of mentally struggles with whether or not he can or should kill his best friend, and that's an interesting plot element, and it sort of makes him a little bit less infallible, and I think that part of the movie is interesting.
I don't know what it is, but I just did not care about any of the characters. I found them all flat and kind of hollow.
This was also the first one that the Russo brothers did, isn't that right?
Yes, it's their first one,
I thought it was. Yeah.
and it's
So
definitely
that's
the
worth
weakest
noting
one.
too. Out of all their ones, yeah, I'd say it is the
Oh no,
weakest.
I take that back. We'll get into that much later. No spoilers, but um, second weakest. But
Okay.
I
Which ones
guess
have
we're
they
gonna-
done? Which ones have they done for context?
So they did this Civil War, Avengers
Oh yeah, they
Infinity
did do
War,
Civil
Avengers
War.
Endgame, and I think that's it.
Okay, yeah, I forgot that they did Civil War. Okay, okay.
So we're on to the next one, and this is the fun one, and that is where is it? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay. S tier? Yeah,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
agree. I would
This
agree.
movie is this is top 5 Marvel, maybe top 3 Marvel. This movie's great. It's so good.
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
It
I
is the
remember when
perfect
this-
sci-fi adventure comedy. It's
Yeah.
great. It's really good.
When it was being marketed, I knew nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy. Really, no one did, unless people were really deep into the comics. And I had, I love sci-fi and everything, and I liked Marvel movies, but I really wasn't that interested in it. When it was being marketed, I was like, it looks fine, whatever. But then I kept hearing really good things about it, and a couple of my friends had seen it, and they were talking to me about it, and they're like, "Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy?" And I said, "No, I haven't seen it." And they're like, "We have to drop everything we're doing right now. We have to go see it." And I was like, "Is it really that good?" They're like, "Yeah, you need to go see it with us. I think you'll really like it." And I went to go see it, and my mind was kind of blown by it. I guess I was kind of taken aback by how well the movie took these characters that I had no familiarization with whatsoever, and elevated them into something I actually cared about, and characters that I actually rooted for, and
Oh,
characters that I
they're
actually
hands
wanted
down
to
the
see them
best team in
progress
the
in future
MCU.
movies. Yeah, that the team dynamic in that movie is flawless. I think the team dynamic
Well,
in
what's great
Guardians of
about
the
the
Galaxy
film
works
is-
better than Avengers.
I went in being a huge fan of the Guardians characters in the comics. Like it's probably my favorite comic book team, maybe behind the X-Men. And what's great about the film is for people who know the source material, it's awesome. It's great to see these characters and all this world, these planets, these locations, their relationships. But then if you're new, you have all these new characters to love and fall in love with because they're all so well developed and they're so well animated and acted, and all the the wardrobe and the makeup is all really really good. So whether or not you know them beforehand, like you just become a fan of them immediately as soon as you watch the movie because they're all just so well done. And they all have depth.
Yeah.
There's so much depth to the characters in this movie, except for maybe like
Yes.
the villain. But like all the characters have their moment to show who they are, and they all have arcs, and it's just really good. I think right now, out of all the movies we've done, it's the top of the list.
Yeah, I would agree. Out of all the ones that we've talked about so far, this one is my favorite. I would definitely agree with that. I think, like you pointed out, one thing that it does really well is developing each character. It develops their backstories and their motivations and fleshes them out and makes them all very sympathetic. Even Rocket, who's a talking raccoon, it even makes him sympathetic and interesting.
Well, he's
I
probably
guess the only
every character is really deep. They're not one-dimensional. They
Yeah.
have history and.
I was gonna say, except for Groot. Groot is just kind of there as like a comedy.
Well, no, even Groot has his moment where he sacrifices himself. He's this very
Well, yeah,
nurturing,
yeah.
caring, individual.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I really like this movie. I think maybe the only thing about this movie that I remember not liking so much, and when I rewatched it, I think I felt the same way. It was like the climax at the end, where it kind of turns into like a giant CGI fest. I think that part's kind of the weakest in the
It is, but
movie.
I'm kind of okay with it because a lot of the dialogue is really great in the third act.
Yeah. It doesn't ruin it. It doesn't bump it down for me at all. I would say one thing also worth noting about this movie is it doesn't really feel like a superhero movie compared to the other ones. It doesn't really follow
I
that
think that's
classic
why it works.
formula. Exactly. It's more like you said, like a sci-fi comedy, and I think that's what made it so interesting and kind of refreshing. And because I mean, at this point, every movie was kind of the traditional superhero formula for the most part, and this was the first one to kind of change that up. And think I think going forward, I would like to see Marvel MCU. I would like to see more films like Guardians of the Galaxy intermixed with the standard superhero fare, just to keep things
Oh
more
yeah.
interesting and keep them from getting
Well,
stale.
the universe is
So
rich and there's so many stories you can tell.
yeah, 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 I agree. But yeah, this is an awesome movie. I really don't have any major complaints
Yeah.
about it.
I'd say out of all the MCU movies, these three, Guardians, Avengers, Iron Man, are probably the ones I've rewatched the most.
Yeah, I would
Especially Guardians. I
say
think Guardians might be the MCU film I've rewatched the most.
I think
I rewatched it not that long ago because I was over at my sister's house and they were just like, "Oh, we're gonna watch Guardians," and I was like, "Sweet." So we just watched it. So, like, yeah,
it doesn't
I'd
get
say
old.
it's numbers wise, it's probably the one I've seen the most.
I think the first Iron Man's the one I've seen the most.
Yeah, that one's maybe a tie for me, or at least a close second. All right, next one.
Yeah, I'm glad we could at least agree on that one. That would have been, I would have been mad if you're like, yeah, this is like a B or a C for me.
If you would have said this is a C, I would have broken my heart. Because this movie's great. So, on to the next one. I think this is going to be... Actually, you know what? Hold on.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about the shows.
Yeah, 2014, I think, is when Daredevil came out. Hold on.
Yeah, we decided to talk about the Netflix shows as part of this, especially now
2015. Let's do Daredevil
that
next because
yeah.
it takes place after Avengers.
Yeah,
Um,
it does.
Where is it?
It's
all
it's right there.
So, for season 1, honestly, I'm going to put it right here.
S tier. I would think I'd put it in A tier, but it's really solid. I really like it overall.
I can see
I
season
think-
2 being way lower, but I think season 1 is top shelf Marvel.
Yeah, it is really good. I mean, the action is phenomenal. The acting is really good. I'm trying to separate in my brain which seasons are which. I feel like the most effective thing in season 1 was how well it fleshed out the character of Matt Murdock, and this was, I think, really the first MCU show that I actually enjoyed. There was a couple that came on before this. It was like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I did not like that, which I guess they're not even canon anymore. Agent
I've
Carter,
tried
I think,
watching
came
Agents
on
of
around
S.H.I.E.L.D.
the
and I
same
hated
time.
it, so...
Yeah, and so like when this show came out, I was kind of surprised that they were doing a show about Daredevil and that it was going to be, long form. But in my head, I was like, well, they've already tried Daredevil in the past with the Ben Affleck movie, so let's see what they do. And this movie, or this show rather, made me love the character of Daredevil. Now he's one of my favorite
Well, it's
MCU
the
characters.
Daredevil show is one of the most comic accurate things they've done so far in Marvel. It literally, you just take the Daredevil comic and put it on the screen. That's pretty much what the show is. There's very little they
Interesting.
changed.
Interesting.
And I think that's
This-
why it
this-
works, because it's more mature and not in a dumb way. It's not like a Zack Snyder movie
It's
where
violent. I mean, it's like R-rated. If it were to be a movie, it would be R-rated.
Yeah, but it's not gratuitous or,
No.
like I said, Zack Snyder edgelordy. It's just it's the
No.
type of story where it needs to be more mature, because it's just that kind of story. And that's how the Daredevil universe is. It's more mature.
It's very brutal and kind of unforgiving, and the character of Matt Murdock, I guess, is naturally kind of sympathetic because he's blind, but then also he's not blind at the same time because he has
Also, I think
these
he's
superhuman
the only
abilities.
MCU hero who doesn't kill.
Interesting.
I think he is. Spider-Man is killed. All the Avengers kill. I think Matt Murdock is the only MCU character who doesn't kill.
I think the one thing that sticks out in my mind that I think kept me from elevating it to S tier was there's a lot of like melodrama in that first season between like him and what is his name, Froggy or Foggy? It's Foggy, isn't it?
Foggy Nelson. See, that's the
Yeah,
stuff I really like. I like the character stuff. I think that's why a show
I like
works.
some of it. I like some of it, but
We
then
can
some of it also
compromise on
got
A
on my
plus.
nerves.
I think it's S, but we can compromise on A plus
Yeah, I think it's
because
A
it's
plus for
certainly
sure.
much better than these.
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I would say yeah, like A plus. I don't think it's quite S for me, but it is on that line, and it's really really good.
I guess we'll just do
Jessica
Jessica Jones
Jones.
season 1 next.
Okay.
We'll take some time before we get back into the movies. So season 1 of Jessica Jones, I think is personally, I'd put it A minus honestly. I really like the
think
first
I
season of
would-
Jessica Jones.
I think I'd probably put it like B plus. It's good, but I don't remember it very well, which to me is kind of like maybe a sign that like it didn't really
It
completely
was also
resonate with me.
well, like almost 7 years ago. So
Yeah, yeah. Whereas like I watched the first season of Daredevil around the same time, and I remember so much of it. Whereas like the first
That's
season
true.
of Jessica Jones, I'm
I
pretty
can
foggy
be
on.
fine with a B plus. I think it's really really good, but there are flaws that show.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think one thing for me is Daredevil, I think, hooked me pretty fast. I remember from watching the first episode, I was immediately intrigued. Jessica Jones did not hook me right away. I think I had to watch a few episodes, but I almost stopped watching at one point.
It starts slower. It gets really good once you meet David Tennant's character.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's kind of plays into that idea of Stockholm syndrome. It's kind of like a theme of the film, and there's some pretty mature themes in the show.
That is
which
definitely
didn't
something I really like
expect.
about it. I think it deals with that stuff well.
Yeah, it does. Like I guess like the victim trauma and things of that nature, which aren't normally, discussed or acknowledged in any of the MCU movies for obvious reasons. But this one didn't shy away from more mature themes like that, and I think that's part of what made it interesting to me. But as far as the plot goes, I really don't remember it very well. I think that's why I was kind of like, for me, it's like a B plus because I don't really remember the plot super well. As far as like the overarching plot goes, I just remember kind of the core dynamic between her and David Tennant, and that is kind of the core of the show. But
Yeah.
that's
I think I
the
can
only
agree.
thing I really
It
remember.
definitely has its flaws, and a B plus is probably fair. I think that'll be it for the Netflix stuff in Phase 2. It's just these two.
Do you have
I
any
think.
other notes on Jessica Jones?
No, I think the high B is fair.
Okay.
When did Daredevil season 2 come out? I think that's Phase 3.
Yeah, I want to say that was like 2016, 2017.
Season 2
No.
is 2016. Yeah,
Okay.
same as Luke Cage. All right, so it's on to the. I'd say this is probably the most debated Marvel film. And that's going to be Age of Ultron.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to let you go first on this one.
I don't think Age of Ultron's that great.
Really?
I remember liking it when I first saw it, but I didn't love it. And then I rewatched it a few years ago. I think it was on TV or something, and I rewatched it, and I really didn't like it. I think it does some things well, other things not so well. I didn't think the character of Ultron was like very well developed or that interesting. Whereas you have Loki in the first Avengers movies, whose motivations make sense. You're already familiar with that character and his dynamic with Thor and his personality in general. The fact that he's trying to take over the world at the behest of someone behind him pulling the strings, it all makes sense. Whereas Ultron is it just kind of springs it upon the audience. This idea of Ultron, it's not really that well built up. It feels kind of truncated, and I got to be honest, I don't like James Spader. He's just one of those actors to me that whenever he
Oh,
appears in something,
I think he's phenomenal. I think he's maybe the best part of this movie.
yeah, he doesn't do it for me as this character of Ultron.
I think he was the perfect casting choice for the character.
But to be fair, I'm not as familiar with that character from the comics or
Sure.
the source material.
And
of
we're not a
Ultron,
comic
whereas-
show or a movie show, so.
Yeah, but yeah, and I don't really like the way that the characters Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are handled in this movie. For a long time, I didn't like Scarlet Witch, which I guess she's not called Scarlet Witch in this movie, but Wanda Maximoff and Pietro. I didn't really like their characters in this movie. Didn't really think they added a lot to the movie, and then everyone kind of shits on the way that Quicksilver is portrayed in this movie. It's kind of infamous.
I don't like it.
And yeah, and I guess spoilers. His sacrifice at the end doesn't feel well earned. This movie felt like an obligatory sequel to me, whereas we talked about the first Avengers last time. I think there was like a lot of passion and like intent and build up for that first Avengers movie, but this one kind of felt just more like we have to do this. I don't know that it really advances like the overall continuity of the MCU very much, as far as I remember. The only thing I can think of that it really does kind of set forth is the Sokovian Accords, where
No,
because
this
of all
movie
the
sets up a
chaos-
lot of stuff. This
I
is
guess
the movie
it's
with
'cause
this
of
is a
all-
movie with Vision. This is how Vision is born.
Yeah, you're right. Vision is in this movie, isn't he? Okay, well, I forgot about that.
I
stand
love
corrected.
Age of Ultron, and it's a movie I like more and more each time I watch it. So it might be third for my most rewatches. It's a movie I wish were much longer. It should have been a two-parter. But there's a lot of decisions in it I really, really like. I really like the slow kind of character moments in the middle where they go to Hawkeye's house. I really, really like that stuff.
Yeah, I
think
do like
out
that a
of-
lot too.
Second to Infinity War, this movie expands the character arcs of the Avengers more than most other Marvel movies. Most Marvel movies are just quips and fun moments, but this movie actually tries. It's a movie that needed to be much longer. I really, really wish there was a great scene between Tony and Ultron. We don't really get that, but we do get a really, really good scene between Vision and Ultron that I love, and I think is one of probably the best written scenes in the MCU.
Which scene is
really-
that?
It's the scene where Vision kills Ultron, and they have the debate over whether humanity is worth
Oh yeah.
allowing to exist. Just really good sci-fi stuff in this movie that I really, really like, but it's not long enough that it should be more. But man, Ultron's dialogue is just fantastic. I just really, really like Age of Ultron. I think it's imperfect. It needed to be much, much longer. There's so much stuff that should be in there that isn't. Like I said, good scenes between Tony and Ultron. There's like none, but I really enjoyed it. You want to see?
Maybe I need
can
to
we-
give it another watch.
I'd say watch it again. I think it's really worth watching. I really, really like Age of Ultron.
I
but
can't
it's
can't
not
give it an
perfect.
A. I will say it's definitely a B. And if
Can
we're
we
gonna call it a
agree-
B,
Above Jessica
We can-
Jones.
yeah,
Okay,
I would agree.
I can allow that.
Maybe we should knock down Thor, because I don't know if
I can agree. Thor is a C.
yeah I don't
It's an
necessarily
average
think
movie,
that Age of
and C
Ultron
is the
and
middle.
Thor are on the same level. I think Thor is probably worse than Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron does do some things really well, like you pointed out. But I remember just being kind of somewhat lukewarm about it the last time I watched it.
I
so-
also really, really like the finer details in the script of this film. Like when Ultron is in the digital universe, he hears that children's song.
I don't remember that part at all.
What's the song? What's the name of the
Strings
song?
on me. Yeah, I remember
I've
that's
Got
a
No
recurring.
Strings by Dickie Jones. and he hears that song when he's in like asleep in the digital universe, and when he first gets a body, it's that really great scene where the Avengers are having like their party and he interrupts it, and he has that great moment where he's like, what does he say? I was asleep, tangled in strings, but now there are no strings on me, which are a reference to the lyrics of the song, because the
Yeah, I
song was like,
remember
there's
that
no
from the
strings
first
on me,
trailer.
but he says like,
Remember that
I
from
was
the first
tangled
trailer of the
in
movie.
strings. But that scene in the film is fantastic.
Yeah.
I was tangled. I just love that scene. But
I think the best part of the movie for me is like you pointed out, the more intimate moments with Hawkeye and his family.
yes,
And the movie is really
that's the
it
good
really
stuff.
does the bait and switch where you think Hawkeye is going to die in that movie, and that they're setting him up to die by developing him like that. And they don't do that. They subvert that, which they do very purposefully. They want you to think that he's going to die, and there's that moment where he's about to die, and Quicksilver
The big problem
sacrifices
with Age of
himself.
Ultron is it's a classic fight between director and studio. Marvel very much wanted Joss Whedon to do more traditional stuff, and he wanted to do one thing, and they compromised in the middle. And that's kind of what Age of Ultron is it feels like
I
a
see.
compromise, and I wish that he was able to do what he fully wanted to do. But I think in order for him to have had to have done that, it would have been a two-parter, and they weren't going to do a two-parter back then.
I think I got to stand by my biggest complaint, and it could be like you said, because the narrative is not given it enough time to be fully fleshed out. I don't think Ultron as a villain is very well set up or fleshed out, and so like I didn't really find myself caring about his motivations. And like I said, it's
in my
subjective. I don't like
opinion,
James
he is,
Spader,
but I
so
do
was
wish
like,
there
eh.
were more. Like it's enough for the film, but I do wish there were more. Mainly
Okay.
just scenes between him and Tony, because in the MCU, Tony makes him,
Yeah,
and I really,
yeah,
really
I would
wish
have
they
liked more
had
of that too.
a conversation. But the movie, it should have been a two-parter or longer. It's a movie that I wish came out later, when the MCU was more successful, when they started doing nearly 3-hour-long movies. It would have been so much better, I think. But
I think had they planned out things a little bit better, it would have made more sense to set up the seeds of Ultron in Iron Man 3 and have that be part of the plot that then bleeds
Yes.
over into Age of Ultron,
I
as
agree.
opposed to what they did with Iron Man 3.
I'm just very, very hopeful that they bring back Ultron in the MCU.
That would be interesting.
He's a computer;
Hopefully.
it works fine. Like he can
Doesn't
come
he
back.
come back as a good character at some point in the comics? am I wrong
yes
on
and
that?
no. He's a complicated guy, but
Okay.
I really, really, I think they should bring him back in the MCU, and I hope they do, and I think they will.
Okay.
I honestly think they will.
Interesting. Okay, interesting.
All right. Well, what's next?
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, I did not watch this movie. We talked about how I know why before we did this, and I just didn't watch it because I don't know, it just didn't interest me when it came out.
Here's the deal with Ant-Man. I'm gonna put it right here, smack dab in the middle, because that's what it
It's
is.
probably fair.
It's the most mediocre, average movie. It's fine. It doesn't do it. It has some good moments with the CG is really good. Like the small stuff is really interesting. It's clever, but the characters are wooden boards, and it's fine. It's a perfectly okay movie.
I do know. I mean, I know like a decent amount about the movie. I remember watching some reviews of it, and I've seen the sequel to it, which was not very good. So, I guess the aspects of Ant-Man that I like on paper, because I haven't seen it, but he is one of the original Avengers in the comics. I think he's in the OG
Not
squad
this
of the
Ant-Man.
Avengers. Yeah, but the preceding Ant-Man. Yeah.
Well, in the comics,
Um,
Hank Pym, the first Ant-Man, in the
Yeah.
comics, he's the one who made Ultron.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This movie, obviously, or I guess the MCU in general, strays from that continuity. But I remember I knew of that character Ant-Man because he was one of the original Avengers, and then I heard that they were making an Ant-Man movie, and I was like, how's that gonna work? How are they gonna do that and it not be just cheesy and weird?
It does work, but the problem is it's not clever enough. I really
see.
wish we got the film we were originally. So originally Edgar Wright was going to make the Ant-Man
Yes.
movie,
See, if
And
that had come to fruition, I
he
would
ended
have
up
been
quitting 'cause
all,
they-
all on board.
working with Disney. He's working with Disney. And I do wish we could have gotten that movie, but what we got is perfectly fine. It's just, it's fine. That's all it is.
Who ended up directing it?
uh, uh,
Yeah,
I don't know who.
either.
Peyton Reed. And Peyton
What else has he
Reed,
done? The name's familiar, but
he made. Let's check him out at IMDb.
yeah.
Peyton
The
Reed.
fact that I can't think of any other movies he's done is probably not the best sign.
He directed Bring It On.
Oh.
He directed
and
Yes Man.
And the sequel, which is also not very good. And
He
well,
directed a bunch of TV. So he makes
Yeah.
mediocre, perfectly adequate.
he was kind of like
stuff.
a yes man. Like some of the directors are like Disney puppets, where they're just
Oh no,
kind
he
of
was
there.
he was a director for hire. That's what he was.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly.
He was a paycheck.
If Edgar Wright had made, because when I heard that Edgar Wright was attached to the project, I was really
excited.
interested. And then when I found out he like parted ways, that's when I was like, I don't know, this movie might not be that great. And I am curious, and maybe in the future, if he hasn't, I would like to see him kind of transparently talk about why that movie broke down, what his vision was, and why Disney wasn't willing to go along. Or
Yeah, I hope
reservations.
one day we can hear all that juicy detail, but I don't think we will.
The thing is, it's like this character was largely unknown by, anyone outside of the comic sphere. So I don't feel like there was a lot on the line.
No.
Edgar Wright isn't accomplished enough of a director. I don't know why they couldn't just give him, the freedom to do what he wanted.
You know
here.
how
It's
they
not like he
are.
was tackling like one of the major characters. Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, Paul Rudd is great in the movie, and he's like the best part of the movie. And he's really, really
Yeah.
good as Scott Lang, and he's even better in the movies that come after this.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like, if anything, it's worth watching for that because he is really, really good. And he's like really, really good in was it Endgame
yeah, and Infinity War.
and Infinity War? He's really good in those movies.
Yeah, those were the movies that made me like him.
And Civil
Not
War
that I
was the
disliked him
movie that
before,
made me
but-
really like him because he's funny. He's funny in Civil War, and he's interesting
Yeah.
how he's kind of But yeah, the first Ant-Man movie is just okay. The second, well, no spoilers, but yeah, the first Ant-Man it's just fine.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I should
Alright, well,
watch it.
let's take a look at the list and let's see if there's anything we want to reorder for now on Phase 2.
Okay.
Right now at the bottom of the list we have Incredible Hulk, and top of the list we have Guardians.
Yeah, so far everything looks, I think.
I kind of
want
to say Ant-Man is better than Iron Man 2.
Okay. I think the only one that I can see as being contentious is that Iron Man 3 one, because a lot of people are gonna put it like in A or B. I don't think anyone would really put it.
Oh no,
in
it's down
S.
here. It's F. I hate this movie. I can
think
could
D.
compromise on D plus.
I think D is probably fair. And then I have watched some of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I put it at F. It's just not good. It's really corny and not in a good way.
I think to be fair, we'll put it in haven't watched because we haven't seen all of it.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't
Just to
seen
be
all of it,
fair.
but it was so bad that I didn't want to see it.
Yes, it's not good, but we'll be fair and put it in haven't watched.
Yeah, and then I guess also,
I guess we
I
can
don't think
just
it's
quickly
technically
put stuff
canon.
in haven't watched. I haven't seen Runaways.
Oh, well, that's canon. I didn't even know it was.
I haven't seen Agent Carter. I
Yeah,
don't
have
care.
not seen that.
I haven't seen Cloak and
Yeah.
Dagger.
No,
I haven't seen. Oh, I've seen
I
Iron
haven't seen
Fist.
Eternals.
Oh, I haven't
Yeah, I
seen
haven't
this.
seen it. I, heard
I
it
haven't
was
seen
bad, so I never
Inhumans.
watched it.
Right.
I didn't even know a lot of these shows came out.
They did, and they didn't last.
I knew.
I don't even
Yeah,
remember is
Cloak and
Inhumans
Dagger,
even
I-
canon anymore.
What is it?
Yes, Inhumans is
Yeah.
canon. I should probably watch it because the Inhumans are really important to the Marvel universe. I don't want to though. I
Hmm.
really don't want to.
I didn't know this show even existed. I'm gonna be completely real. I remember hearing about it. I assumed it just never came out. It must have really not made waves because like I said, I didn't even know it released, and I follow all these things like fairly closely. So yeah, that one flew under the radar.
So I just had an idea. I don't know if you want to do it, because I don't want to be just a
All
tier
right.
list show, you know.
Yeah,
but-
what's your idea?
What we could do is our first 3 episodes, we could do the 3 MCU phases, and then we'll take a break from tier lists. We'll do a few weeks of movie reviews, and then what say you? Because it's relevant to this episode. What say you to us doing? And we can do it in one episode if you want, instead of a review, because it'll take up a whole episode. Tier listing the X-Men cinematic universe.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'd be down for that.
All right, that'll be a future. So make sure to subscribe so you can, or follow his Twitter, whatever.
Yeah,
Make
that
sure
would
to
be
smack
fun.
that follow button, ring the bell, so that you can know when we're gonna do that one.
Yes, yes.
All right, so I think we're done
And-
reordering for phase 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with. I mean, I'm not happy with where
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 is, but life is about compromises.
I mean, I would probably put Iron Man 3 if it was up to me. I'd probably put it in C, but I think D is fine too. I'm not passionately advocating for that film, so yeah, it's interesting to me that so many people love that twist and think it's so
I
clever
don't.
and brilliant, and
No,
I
it's
just
not
don't
good.
really think it is. I think maybe it would have been clever and brilliant had the twist been that it was a character that was well fleshed out and had clear motivations, but that you didn't expect to be the one pulling the strings. But that's not really how it's written or how it's presented. So I don't know. I think people kind of make that movie out to be more than it really is. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, the movie would have been better if there just was no twist and it was just the Mandarin. I would have loved it. I thought it would
Yeah.
have been a great movie, but nope.
Well, hold on a second. Let's look at this. Let's look at this screenshot and see some of these rankings. They got
I'm looking at one
Eternals
right
and
now,
the new
but the
Spider-Man
problem
movie
with
at
Marvel
F.
rankings, it's done by idiots who put everything in A and B, and that's it. They don't have like an
No
F.
Way Home is an F. It's the worst.
Oh no,
most
no
content
spoilers.
Marvel
We're not
movie.
going to spoil what we think.
I definitely. Well, I guess I shouldn't say whether or not I agree with that, but that would be a hot take. That's all I'm going to say.
What was your hot take?
I would say if someone's going to put that movie in F, that would be a hot take. You'd have a lot of people arguing with you about it.
No. Oh wait, no, that's phase. Is that no? It's phase 3, so no spoilers. I won't give my thoughts on it yet.
No Way Home is phase 4, isn't it?
Yes, No Way Home's the new one. Far From Home is phase 3.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking about No Way Home. I think they had No Way Home as F on that screenshot.
No, that was Far From Home. I think we were looking at the same one.
Okay.
No spoilers.
The names.
We'll have phase
The
3
names
Tuesday
of these
at 8
new
p.m.
ones. Okay.
All right.
We'll
Well,
talk about those names.
we will. So for those watching, and you're wondering why, you're like, why aren't they doing the 2021 year review? It's because, well, we originally were going to pre-record this episode, but then we had all kinds of doo-doo computer crap. So we're going to throw the footage of that on YouTube along with this. I'm going to
Yeah.
stitch them together in one episode.
That sounds good.
So, D-Rock, where can the people find you? Plug your things.
People can find me at the Daddy D Rock on Twitter. That is D-Rock. You can also find me on YouTube under Daddy D Rock. I might also change that to the Daddy D Rock because there's another guy named Daddy D Rock who just posts videos of his kids. That is not me. I'm the other one that talks about
The other one that doesn't
video
have
games
kids.
and movies and doesn't have kids. So
You're the one who
um,
posts videos of other people's kids.
we're not supposed to talk about that, bro. That's secret. We've got to talk about that off air. You shouldn't have said that. I'm gonna bust through my window.
I just doxed you. So everybody, make sure to go follow this boy on his Twitters and his YouTubes. He does some
you.
good stuff on there. As for me, well, you're already here. It's the Bone Shackles Twitch. I stream this show Tuesdays at 8, and then I do a live TWAB reading for Destiny on Thursdays if it's a good one, and then Fridays Sea of Thieves, Sundays Destiny. I mix things up. I have different games and crap. But you can also find us on YouTube, Maple Butter Caramel. I'm going to have that up tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to have the first 2 episodes ready to go. And then, so you can follow me on Twitter at The Bone Shackles. If you ever want to know what's going on with the show, you should probably follow me because I'll post updates on my stream if there's any kind of scheduling mishaps like tonight. But yeah, we'll catch you Tuesday at 8. Peace.
Yep, we will be there. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
I think that went pretty well.